In Parshat Vayichi, we have the final years of Yaakov and Yosef. The Parshat starts off that Yaakov lived for 17 years in the land of Egypt before he passed away at the ripe old age of 147 years old. And I find it so interesting that Yosef was 17 years old when he was sold into slavery. To me, in a lot of ways, it meant that Yaakov wanted those missing years back. That even though he was old and feeble, to get Yosef back, to see his grandchildren grow up, was just so important to him. And he lived. And all those years that Yosef was missing, it was almost like Yaakov's life was on pause. We actually don't hear from Yaakov at all, except when the brothers pleaded with him to send Binyamin down to Egypt. He's pretty much a silent character. Even when Yosef was taken, it says that the presence of God left Yaakov. Like God wasn't even with him for all those years. And I think that in life sometimes when you're really down and you're depressed, something tragic happens to you, it's so hard to connect. So hard to understand why things happen. And it's almost like it's hard to find faith. It's hard to find hope. It's hard to see the good in things. It's hard to live because there's like a black cloud wherever you go. And we really see this through Yaakov, that even his connection with God was severed. Now, there are some commentators that say that it was God that left him, that he lost his prophecy for all those years. You could make the argument that it was Yaakov that was so depressed he couldn't feel Hashem. But regardless, I think that everyone goes through ups and downs in life. Life is not perfect. It's almost like a hill base. And whatever you struggle with, I know 2020 is coming to an end, and this has been a year to remember for so many. There's nobody who went through 2020 the way they thought they were going to back in January of last year. For some, it's worse than others. For some, it was isolation. For some, it was they lost loved ones. For some, it was financial hardships and relationship issues. And for some, there was beauty. For some, it was a year of introspection. It was a year where I met a couple here in Hawaii who met traveling, and they've been traveling all year because they both work remote. I mean, this year could be with so many extremes. But regardless, I would say for the majority, it was a tough one. And if you feel disconnected from yourself, from religion, from a loved one, from spirituality, that's normal. In fact, I would argue it's much harder to have that connection when you're going through rough times. Although it is so comforting, it's not always the norms. And I think we really learned that from Yaakov, that it's okay to feel a disconnect. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to feel a sense of loss. But when you get back where you want to be, you live life to the fullest. That's why it says in Yaakov lived. He really, really lived. Anyways, may you all have a beautiful Gregorian New Year's. May 2021 be whatever we want it to be. I guess my blessing for our community is that just like the book of Vayichi can't come to an end without the unity amongst the brothers, that's how we move to the next chapter. May humanity have unity this year. May we look out for those who have had different hardships than us and be sympathetic and be able to not judge, because the only way you really get through hard times is when we support one another. And each of us goes through different pain so that we can help somebody else that didn't have the same pain as us. So it's a lot more easy to help. That's the secret to survival. That's the secret to happiness. And may we all have a blessed year in 2021. Shabbat Shalom.